Hello everybody and welcome back to Deck Tech for Decks. Today we're looking at Vondras, Rage of Ancients. This guy's flavor is amazing, what this guy does is amazing, and honestly, he puts off Animar vibes. Just by building the deck, this guy can go infinite several different ways. This guy's a one-man army. We're going to suit him up, make him indestructible, force our opponents to block him, and then create a massive board this way. Finally, we'll be able to end the game with the amount of dragons we create. Or, like I said, if once he gets indestructible, it's kind of hard not to go infinite, because then once a dragon comes into the battlefield, you'll deal damage with it, and boom, you create another dragon. It's insane. Let's start out this insanity with a category I like to call Feed the Rage. First up, we have Outpost Siege. We're really looking at that second ability. Whenever a creature you control leaves the battlefield, Outpost Siege will deal 1 damage to any target. We'll target Vondras and create another Dragon Ancient. Then, when that Dragon Ancient enters the battlefield, Warstorm Surge is going to trigger and deal damage to our opponent, and then boom, it's going to die because of that little sacrifice ability, and then we're going to go ahead and deal damage to Vondras again. This loops, and as long as he has Indestructible, it goes infinite. But we also include cards like Terror of the Peaks. This one, notably, Terror of the Peaks is the one that deals the damage, so we get to keep our Dragon Ancient, which can be pretty useful. Wrathful Red Dragon is another one that does damage instead of the Ancient, so we'll get to keep our Ancient, and the Red Dragon will go ahead and do the damage. Pyrohemia, as long as we have red mana, we can keep creating Ancient Dragons. Also, this does combo really well with Grynax Astral Hunter, because our commander is going to take damage, a dragon's going to enter the battlefield, and then we're going to create a treasure token. As long as we can get Grynax and our commander to have Indestructible, that'll go infinite. And even if you can't make it go infinite, a lot is still a very viable strategy. Next up, we have Where Ancients Treads. Not only is this a huge flavor win, but it does the damage instead of our dragons also, so we get to keep those Ancients still. Harbinger of the Hunt. Not only is this guy going to keep the board clear of any token strategies, whether it's in the air or ground, but he's also going to trigger our commander. This deck really is a token strategy's worst nightmare. Ashling Pilgrim. Again, token strategies, pretty screwed, right? And it triggers our commander, keeps the board clear. It's a win-win. Fiend Lash. Equip this to our commander, and he's just going to start doing damage whenever we deal damage to him. What's really useful about Fiend Lash is it's equal to his power, not the amount of damage we do to him. So Blazing Sunsteel, still pretty good, but it only deals damage equal to the amount of damage we do to him. So it's a little worse, but we still include it in the deck, especially since we do have ways to force our opponent to block. Finally, we have Dragon Tempest. Yes, our Ancient's gonna die instantly, but the fact that we can just have an Ancient enter the battlefield, it deals 1 damage to Vondras, and then another Ancient immediately enters the battlefield. There's a lot of ways to value off of big creatures entering the battlefield in this deck, so even if they don't stick around and we don't gain anything off of it, we're gonna gain value in other ways. Our next category is going to turn Vondras into a one-man army. He's going to go after everybody's board state. Ulvenwald Tracker. This is going to let him fight anybody. Kalani Ambush. Same thing. Nemesis Mask. This is going to make it to where all the creatures have to block him. Naiath of the Dire Hunt. This will only make it to where one creature has to block him, but it's going to double his power, and it's going to draw us some cards. Revenge of the Hunted. This miracle cost is going to be amazing, and 9 times out of 10 we're going to be shooting for that. But if not, we can still hardcast this. It's going to make a massive, and someone's board state is going to be in jeopardy. Next up, we have Lore. Just simple. Everybody has to block him. So as soon as they do that, we're going to create a massive board state, and they're going to lose theirs. Finally, to end this category, we have Grappling Hook. This is going to let us choose who we want to block him, and it's going to give him Double Strike, which is just a win. Alright guys, let's make Vondras unkillable. We have Inara. This is going to give him indestructible on our turn. Next up, Darksteel Plate. Just a classic, and it is also indestructible. Rite of Passage. This doesn't make him indestructible, but it's going to make him impervious to like the 1 ping effects that we have. So we'll be able to do that indefinitely as long as we keep getting 1/1 counters. So this can give him infinite power. Cauldron Complete. This is just really useful, right? It gives him First Strike, Trample, Indestructible, Haste, and whenever this creature does combat damage to a creature, exile that creature. Pretty useful, and it really just hoses graveyard strategies. Heroic Intervention. This one's really good. We can use this to give our other creatures indestructible. That way we don't wipe our whole board, right? And it pairs good with that Grynax guy for those treasure tokens. Not only is Hammer of Nazan going to equip itself to Vondras whenever it enters the battlefield, but it's also going to go ahead and equip any other equipment we play, which we don't run much, but just not having to pay those equip costs matters. Finally, Vigor. This one's my favorite because this is just going to buff him whenever he takes damage. Imagine playing Lore and then a Vigor and just swinging at a token board. Oh my gosh, that's going to feel amazing when we create a huge board state and end up with a massive Vondras. Alright guys, let's look at some of these supporting cards. We have Ancient Bronze Dragon, because when you can't make him unkillable, why not just make him massive to where he's basically unkillable, right? And rolling that die is going to deal a damage to him. Next up, we have Polyraptor. Give this guy indestructible and start dealing damage to him, and boom, we'll go infinite that way. We don't care. Swiftfoot Boots, it's going to still allow us to target Vondras and give him hexproof from our opponent, so pretty useful. Gratuitous Violence, let's just double the amount of damage we're doing, right? Why not? Rhythm of the Wilds. This is going to give us haste, or, we can go ahead and opt for that 1/1 counter, and it's going to make it to where they can't counter our creatures, which there's not much, but the ones that we do run are super important for our strategy. Finally, we're running 2 more MDFCs with Bala Ged Recovery and Valakut Awakening. I think these cards are underplayed in general, because you could literally put them in any deck and it can still double as a land. Let's go ahead and take a look at that card advantage. We have Dragonborn Champion. This guy's just going to be really efficient because we're going to be creating a lot of Ancients and they're going to be doing 5 damage to a lot of stuff. Guruk's Uprising, whenever one of those Ancients enters the battlefield, we're going to go ahead and draw a card. Rishgar's Expertise, our commander is going to be getting massive, so we're going to draw a lot of cards and cast a free card off of it. Ripjaw Raptor, why not get some card advantage while we're hitting ourselves, right? Jessica's Will, just really efficient, and it gives us some red mana while we're at it. Elemental Bond, again, when those dragons enter the battlefield, drawing a lot of cards. Greater Good, we can go ahead and sacrifice those dragons for some card draw. I'll look at the top 5 cards in my library and pick 2 out of 3 any day. Escape the Wilds. This card I think is underplayed because not only is this going to draw us 5 cards essentially, but it can ramp us also if we draw some lands, which is pretty likely. Toski, Bearer of Secrets. This guy's really good because he's not going to die when we're hitting ourselves, and he's going to allow us to draw some cards when we swing in with those Ancients. Plus, if we want to, we can suit this guy up and deal a lot of damage to him, and he's going to do the same thing Vondras does without spawning those giant dragons, but he'll still work. Orin Frostfang. This is going to give Vondras and all of our other creatures Death Touch and draw us a lot of cards, so win-win. Return of the Wild Speaker. This can be a pump to end the game, late game, but 9 times out of 10 we're going to draw some cards with this. Professional Facebreaker. We can go ahead and create treasure tokens or sacrifice some of those treasures for some card advantage. And then lastly, we are running Harmonize. A bit boring, but I think people still sleep on this card, right? 4 mana for 3 cards, that's useful. Alright guys, let's get into the ramp. As stated earlier, we are running Ganax Astral Hunter. This can be really efficient in the deck and create infinite tokens, so that's pretty useful. Raging Raptor. This is just going to ramp us some cards when we're hitting ourselves in the face. Secure Tribe Elder. This guy's reliable right here. Kodama's Reach, just really efficient. Cultivate, again, really efficient. Farseek, Rampant Growth, 3 Visits, and Nature's Lore. All 2 mana ramp that's going to get us where we need to go. Oracle of Moldiah, I really like this card because it makes it to where you're always drawing gas. I will put this in any green deck until I stop playing Commander. Klauth, Unrivaled Ancient. Whenever we deal damage with those 5/5s, we're going to, or actually we just have to attack. We're going to add 5 mana to our mana pool, which is pretty crazy because that's the low end, right? And then we are running Soul Ring because this is Commander. Alright guys, if you made it this far, please drop a like and consider subscribing. It really helps me out. And comment if you would. Next up, we have Removal. Beast Within. This one, permanent removal. It's really useful. Chaos Warp, again, permanent removal because we're going to be removing the creatures. We want to get rid of those permanents. Chain Reaction. This one can get rid of everybody's board state and deal a lot of damage to Vondras while we're at it. So they could take a lot of damage and lose all of their board. Nature's Claim, just really efficient removal. Klaus Will, I want to try this one out. I'm going to give it a go. I mean, I see it being a dead card sometimes, but I could also see it being very impactful. Blasphemous Act, this is another one where they're going to lose their whole board state and we're going to deal a lot of damage to Vondras, dealing a lot of damage to them, hopefully. Alright guys, that's going to do it for the deck tech. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments if there's some cards I should include, if there's some cards I should take out, and your overall thoughts on the deck.